This program is brought to you by the City Government of Addis Ababa Education Bureau in collaboration with Addis Media Network. This is English for grade 6. Hello, dear students. How have you been? How was your week? I'm sure you had a great time, right? Are you ready to learn a new thing today? Wonderful. Let us revise what we have seen last week. Do you remember our topic from last week? Yes, we were talking about nouns. Good. We were talking about nouns. And what do we say are nouns? Yeah, from parts of speech, nouns are names. Good. Nouns are names. When we say nouns are names, it can be what? Names of people. Like, for example, me, your teacher, my name is Miss Sennight, that's a noun. And you over there, what's your name? Good, that is also what? A noun, yes? What else? Names of animals, right? Animals. And when we say names, names of what? Places. Places. Good. What else? Names of activities. Activities. Yeah? This is what we call what? A noun, right? And we try to classify nouns into different classifications based on their function, right? Do you remember some of them? Yeah, we said what? The countable and uncountable nouns. Good. Countable and countable and uncountable. Right? And then we try to see some names under these categories. Yes? We also say what? The proper noun, proper noun. Yes? And common noun, common noun. Yes? What else? We also say or talk about the abstract, yes, abstract and concrete noun. Good. Abstract and concrete nouns. Yes? Especially when we talk about these abstract and concrete nouns, what did we say? We say that abstract nouns are the names that we give for some things that we do not see, yes, but we can simply feel them. For example, love. Can you see love with your naked eyes? You don't see it, yes? Yeah, but the affection or the passion that you have with people is called what? It is love. The same is true with the opposite, which is hate, right? So these are what? Some of the classifications that we tried to see last week, yes? And today I have come with a new topic. Actually, it's not totally new because last time we have seen about conditional sentence type 1, which I told you to remember it by saying the possibility condition. Yes? You remember about possibility condition. So today we're going to continue to the other part of conditionals, which is the imaginary condition. Yes? Imaginary. I want you to remember this word. Look, normally we call it conditional sentence type 2. Yeah? This is what we call it, conditional sentence type 2. But I also want you to remember these words. 1, imaginary. Imaginary. All right? And 2, unlikely. Unlikely. All right? It is what? It is imaginary. It is unlikely. Not only that. Yes? Not only that. Based on the probability, it is what? Improbable. Improbable. All right? This is the conditional sentence that we're going to talk about today. Are you ready? Perfect. Now let's go. When we talk about conditional sentence, we said that conditional sentence has got how many clauses? Yes? Yeah, 2 clauses. What are they? If you say if clause and main clause, you're correct. We have two clauses. These are the if clause, the if part, if clause, yeah? And then there comes the other clause, which stands by itself. It is called what? The main clause. Main clause. Okay? If you remember from the last lesson of conditional sentence type 1, we said about the if clause, all right? The if part is what? Setting the condition. Since we said what? Conditional sentence, that means there is a condition which can change the result. So, the if part of the sentence is what? It is the condition. The condition that we said is here. Here is the condition. All right? Then, what else? In the main clause, yeah, when you set a condition here in the if part, then we expect what? A result. And that result is found here. This is the result. Okay? Yes? Just to remind you from the previous lesson, which is conditional sentence type 1, if you remember, instead of saying type 1, type 2, it's better for you to remember the word possibility condition because it helps you to identify what type of condition and what type of result that you are discussing. All right? When we say the possibility condition, we said that the possibility to happen is 50-50, right? Yes? For example, if somebody says, look, I'm now talking about conditional sentence type 1, okay? When somebody says, if I work hard, now look at this. This is the condition that we set. What do we say? If I work hard. What type of sentence do we have here? Let's see. I is our subject plus when you say work, yes, work is what? Verb 1, right? Which means subject plus verb 1, that is what? Simple present. Okay, so when you find a present condition, then you expect something in the future, right? So we don't hold the future. We are not sure what will happen in the future. So we set it what? There is a possibility for the result to happen. What is that? For example, one of the possibilities. If I work hard, okay, if you are a student, you might say what? I will pass. I will pass, yeah? I will pass the exam. This is one possibility, right? Okay, what else? When somebody, for example, when your father or when your mother, if they are talking about their business or their work, and if they say, if I work hard, what else could happen for them? You might say, or they might say, I will earn, yeah, a lot of money. A lot of money. You see? Now, to earn a lot of money or to earn much money, there is some condition which is expected. What is that? You need to work hard. When? At present. The result? After present, which is what? Future, right? This is all about the conditional sentence type 1. But let's come to our today's conditional, which is the imaginary condition. The one that you put in your mind. Okay? Let me give you some sentences first, and then we will come up with okay, let me give you some sentences here. And then we come up with the tense. All right? Okay, look at this. If I were rich, then comma, I would buy you a car. Look, you see this? If I were rich, I would buy you a car. Okay, nice. If I were rich. Give attention to the grammar that we are talking about here, all right? Okay, let me give you somewhere, okay? If they knew the answer, comma, they might tell us. Okay, now let's come up to the form. As usual, just like what we have seen in the conditional sentence type 1, here we also have the two clauses, right? The if clause and the main clause, right? Okay, let's see the if clause. What kind of structure are we having in the if clause? Let's start by the second one. If they knew the answer. Obviously, here is if, okay? Okay, now we're coming to the form. Then in the if clause, we begin by if, but as I told you last time, it's not only if, there is also what? When. Yeah? Or if you are talking about some consequence which shows something negative, you can also say unless. But let us see with this. There is if or when, then what else do we have? Look, they are subject, right? Wonderful. Then what kind of verb are we having here? Knew. Knew is what? Verb 2. Subject plus verb 2. What is the tense? Yeah, it is simple past. Simple past. Okay, look, subject plus verb 2, then simple past. Let's go to the main clause. All right, in the main clause we have they, all right, then might, okay, and tell us, verb 1. Okay, the first one. If I were rich, look at this. I were. How come do we say were with I? Is it possible to say I were? In simple past, the subject I. Do you think it uses was or were? Normally it uses what? Was. But in the case of conditional sentence type 2, which is imaginary or unreal, all right, here this thing is not fact, it is imaginary, or it is unlikely to happen, right? For example, I am a woman, all right? I am a girl. Is it possible for me to be a man? No, it's not. So I can simply what? I can simply imagine what I do if I were a man. So instead of saying, of course you can say if I was a man, but you can also say what? If I were a man, to show it how far unlikely it is, or how far imaginary it is, okay? But as I told you, it's possible to say if I was, if she was, if he was, or if I were, if he were, if she were. So we can use were, the plural verb to be, in the case of conditional sentence type 2 to show how far imaginary your sentence is, all right? So in this case, if plus when, if or when plus simple past. Simple past. This is what? The if clause. Let's go to the main clause. Then, comma, then our main clause, what do we have here? I would buy you a car, or they might tell us. So the main clause comes with subject, then plus the conditionals would, all right, should, could, or might. Okay? These are the auxiliary verbs that we use. And then what kind of main verb do we have? After would, as you can see here, there is buy. And after might, here is tell, which is a base verb, or what we call verb 1. This is the form of conditional sentence type 2, or the imaginary or unlikely condition. Can you tell the form now? Oh, maybe not yet. Let us do some examples and then you will come up to it. All right, let me write the form first here. Conditional sentence type 2, or as I told you, imaginary condition. Imaginary condition. All right. Then, as I told you, our form, it is what? If, or, when, then subject plus verb 2. The main verb, subject plus would, should, could, or might, plus the base verb or verb 1. Okay, let us see now some examples in this form, all right? Follow me. Example. Let somebody say, this is common. Even when I was a student, I remember conditional sentence type 2 by this example. If I were a bird. Yeah? If I were a bird. Yes, if I were a bird. What would I do? Obviously, yes, I would fly. Good. I would fly. That's why I want you to remember the name imaginary instead of saying type 2. Because any one of us cannot be a bird. Yes, we're human beings, right? Yeah, so if I were a bird, I would fly. You know that you are students, yes? Everything you get is what? From your families. But let's assume that if I were rich, what would you do to your parents? If I were rich, or let's say, how could you be rich? Maybe you might won a lottery, yeah? Let's say like that. If I won a lottery, yeah? If I won a lottery, what would you buy to your parents? Let's say, since I am a mother, let's talk about mothers. If you won a lottery, what would you buy to mom? Yes? Oh, somebody said a big house. Good. That's better. You say what? If I won a lottery, yeah, I could buy a big house. A big house to my mom. Right? Yes. If I won a lottery, I could buy a big house to my mother or to mom, right? What else? Let's talk, or let's imagine something. Let's put something good in our mind. Yeah? Okay, let's say that if I were a doctor now. If I were a doctor, yeah? If I were a doctor, maybe now at this time you are watching somebody who is sick or suffering with some illness. And then there are times that you say, oh, if I were a doctor, I would do this and that, right? That's what I'm talking about. We are now what? Imagining. Yes? Okay. So if I were a doctor, what would you say? Let's say, for example, I could, or I might help people, or instead of people, let's make it realistic. I might help needy people, yeah, needy people for free. Needy people means people that need your help, okay, or what we call poor, okay. This is how you say, if I were a doctor. This time, of course, you will be a doctor. There is a possibility for you to be a doctor if you work hard, right? But you just imagine, this time, right now, at this moment, yeah, if I were a doctor, then what would you do? I might serve, or I might help, yes, needy people or the poor people for free. Yes? Good. Okay. But is this the only way of writing this conditional sentence? Like, do we always need to begin by saying if? No. As we have seen last time with the first conditional, you can also begin your sentence by, yes, you can start by the main sentence. For example, look. She would give you